in a Maroon camp with his mother and father. Later, his mother and father are captured. His father is killed. His mother is sent back to her former slave master with Caleb. But he always had that yearning because he had come up in that environment. He always had the yearning and desire to be free. And he was always told that he was free and should be free. So the novel shifts in and out, you know, from the plantation into, again, outside the plantation, fleeing and in the Maroon camps, and then back on the plantation again. But this part that I'm going to read to you is about a minor character who's really working under the master, directly under the master. He had been a field slave in the beginning, but then got injured, and because of the injury, he's brought into the house, and it's kind of like the personal valet for the slave master. Many people have the illusion that the house slave is privileged and better off. I don't think so. It's definitely not necessarily. You have to deal with the whims of these people every day. You know, so you see what he's thinking about this. A lot of this journey, again, is psychological. "Thank you, Chester," he mumbled, his fluttering eyelids challenging the sightless sandbags. "You're a good boy, and the Lord gonna bless you for it. May even get to wait on me in the white man's heaven." Chester grinned and knelt on his strong calves as he pulled off Hollyfield's boots. He began massaging the right Achilles heel. "Ah, that feels good. Seems like when my feet feel good, my whole body feels good," said Hollyfield. Chester removed Hollyfield's socks, ran his hands along the sole and in between the pale arthritic toes of the right foot. Gripping the heel, he twisted the upper part of his foot around in a circle. Wait on him in the white man's heaven. Thought he was already waiting on him in the white man's heaven. And if a nigga's heaven wasn't nothing but serving white folks again, then he'd rather have the worms eat him and never rise to see the sun or hear the mockingbird's liquid song, or leaves flapping in the breeze shaking off the dew, or steamboats plowing upstream calling to mind a new and better day. He just begged the Lord to let him stay in the tomb and rest his broke down body. White folks sure thinks niggas is fools if they think niggas is looking for to serve them in heaven. Nigga, heaven ain't got nothing to do with no white folks. They are fools if that's what they think. Milkweed head motherfucker. Hollyfield's eyes were closed, and his mouth hung open. Chester cut a hateful look at him. The gall of some folks was harder than a sledgehammer. Eyes closed. Wasn't nothing in them to see with. Nothing but hard blue dots that hid the mystery of not life. No color, no substance to the pale, soft feet. How could they have traveled across the land and made big holes in the earth with such weak feet? He wondered about them feet. And the greed that pushed them around, sucking the blood from the earth. White man wasn't nothing but a mosquito, had to suck the living, sapping a man for life. Couldn't live without taking a man's blood. Never could rightly understand why a nigga was damned, cause his skin was black and solid and tough as a mule's hide. Nigga just had to accept it though. Wasn't nothing else he could do but work himself half to death to keep the other half alive. Didn't believe in no angels coming blowing bugles after no niggas, not after God put his curse on them. He stared at his dark skin, ashamed and feeling a pain in his heart deeper than the sting of the lash. It always hurt to think that what he was could never change less than he died. Could nothing on God's earth make him white except his ashes after they cooled from the burning eyes of white men? Wasn't nothing gonna change for him. Wasn't nothing for a nigga but being dumb and deaf to his misery. Wasn't never gonna change. Nothing could break the curse of God but his mercy. Chester tilted his head to the side and started stroking Hollyfield's left foot, sighing inside himself so the master didn't hear and crying. But he couldn't let the master see no tears coming out. He'd catch hell if he did. White folks didn't like niggas showing no feelings except for hogs swallowing up his own youngins. Mean mistresses, hired drivers, haughty half-breeds and footstools like him that never had nothing. No woman, no youngins, no mammy or pappy that he ever knew about. Nothing but a pulpy white foot that smelled bad as old fungus rags kept too long in armoires. No land but what his hands had touched in the rich, dark fields full of vigor and peace. It was lots better in the sun. It was lots better than being a footstool and a fool, sliding around grinning all the time like it was something worth grinning about with your head in a wildcat's mouth. It was better in the fields. Didn't have to play at loving no man while he whipping on your black eye and working you till you can't sweat no more. To be a loving, grinning ass hell. Even asses get tired and refuse to move, and if the master laughs and shoot him in the head, don't matter at all. There was niggas and there was mules to do the work of the world, but a mule had more sense than a nigga any day. Sense enough to demand some victuals and rest when he needed it. Niggas too scared to do nothing but cow down like some creature that ain't even of this earth. Briar Bush got sense enough to keep his thorns. Niggas been tricked. Niggas been tricked out of their senses. They don't know what a pen is for. Don't know how they got in or how they gonna get out. So they just stay put like a circle of stones marking a grave, a death they ain't rightly remembered or forgot, when the white man first fell into their souls and ate them. This next passage I'm going to read is about a man who, kind of male-female relationship, if you want to call it that. It wasn't easy, during slavery time. So this is, again, a minor character. He's walking home from the road. They just had a little get-together, found a pork and cooked it, and then they're coming home, and his companion's asking him about a woman that he had fallen in love with that lived on another plantation. And what happened was he had observed this woman get raped, and because he was not able to do anything, it damaged him psychologically. You would see this in this passage here. Bighorn and Bossa strode the road together after they left Ruby's cabin. "So you getting the sweet eye for Maddie?" said Bossa. Bighorn didn't respond. "Maddie, a tough fruit to rub, I tell you that," he snickered. "Hey, what happened to that girl you was courting over yonder?" "Who you talking about?" asked Bighorn. "That girl that had your heart in the fish pot about a year ago." "Oh, just some gnat liver I was tomcatting over there." "Was she pretty?" "Pretty as a mud fence that a mule kick in." A peacock's tail grin spread over and widened Bossa's raw-boned face. "Ah, Bighorn, Master said ugly women make the best wife." "Yeah, Master ain't got to marry them ugly black heifers." I don't know. They say quiet wife mighty pretty." "That sound ain't quiet. Besides, I ain't the marrying kind. I don't reckon ever seen no bull jump the broom with no heifer." "But you's a man, Bighorn. You ain't no bull." They came to the path where Bossa turned off. "See you in the morning." "Night." Bighorn recalled her screaming in the cabin while the older man hunted late that night in the woods, screaming. The owls, offering their gift of warning, screamed madly at the full red moon. What could he do? Afraid, wretched, helpless, standing behind the stump of live oak now dead. The night air was cold. He remembered the wind blowing north from the Gulf, flocks of long-necked birds flying south, smoke curling into fat bearded clouds from the tall chimneys of sugar houses lying along the bayou shores. Her cries in a tongue foreign to his ears, was she cursing them before the God she saw in the rivers and lakes and bayous and the valleys where the dry bones lie? Hadn't thought of Kay in a long time. Not since the flags and tops of last year's crops strewn over the fields were set afire for the first plowing. Seemed like he just put the gal out of his mind and put her in the crocus sack in the barnyard before old liver lip bossa go to blabbering like a chicken hawk. The fool don't know what he's saying and say it anyhow. The gully dirt nigga ought to tend to his business. A man don't put his peas in a gourd that the termites got to, or give his eggs to the rattlesnake to carry. Let him reckon the gal was ugly. Ain't none of his business. That nigga never believed no saltwater Guinea woman was pretty nohow the way his beady eyes shine for the yellow gal. Black as Egypt in the midnight of his glory. Black as the blackest streams and the leaves of the sycamore at nightfall. Black as the soil of the river bottom, and sweet and pretty as the crepe myrtle all dallied up in a blooming like a nigger bell at the Christmas ball. Pretty giddy woman. Pretty as the dawn when it parts the sky and the sun, a bright sunflower, opens his bosom to the bumblebee. Pretty as the first May rain on a Texas prairie. Pretty as the lone hyacinth drifting from the south into the bay. Pretty as the wonder and yearning in the puffed white clouds, the snow-covered mountains in the sky, when the rays of the sun were the joy of life to him. Guinea gal, pretty as the forgotten land that gave birth to her. Saltwater gal, buried by the sea. Forgot he ever loved that woman. Buried her in the Sea of Galilee, where the parched bones give up his soul and the sea floods the land again with seed, so it keeps on growing. Was the love bird coming back to haunt him? Old buzzard didn't never know it was in him to feel that way till his big eyes got stuck on that gal one day, just like the fruit fly when he get all stuck up in the honey. Love trapped him over yonder. Set his heart to spinning faster than a spinning wheel at wedding time. Didn't know it was in him. That a bull's eyes could shine bright as the moon and braid the paddy rollers with his horns to cross the marshes and the big winding road to get to her. Love was a powerful movie on a man to have him going around smiling and dreaming all the time, same as a child just come out to pick a ninny pen. Yeah. He loved that gal, if love is what make a man hurt, but wasn't another boss's business where he kept his eggs hid or if he was caught in a knot. Most boss are always saying it takes two birds for to make a nest, but birds is free, was born free. Chattel don't attend the church services, else everybody laugh. Just wasn't right the way it made him feel like running away or buying his freedom or raising a family of his own. Love wasn't nothing but another burden on a nigga's back. Black as Egypt in its midnight glory. Every black and white hound on the place wanted some of that nat liver. Black man couldn't own nothing, not even his woman belonged to him. Besides, he reckoned she'd been courting 3 or 4 other niggas on the bias. Had them fighting each other like cocks while she slipping around with the boss's son. Saw him leave her cabin that night with a torch, screaming and crying like it was paining her. So I guess now I can open it up for questions. Yes.
You mentioned scholars. Can you define who these scholars are and how they became scholars?
Scholars.
Yeah, you mentioned scholars earlier, I guess.
Yeah, I mentioned Sylviane Jove, who has written books on the Maroons in Brazil, and she also wrote a comprehensive book, came out 2 years ago, 2014, called Slavery's Exiles. But she talks about the Maroon communities living within the United States. Now, she doesn't talk about the guy that I'm talking about in my novel, Brock Coupe, but she does talk about some of the Maroons in Louisiana. She also doesn't talk about the Seminoles, and she had her reasons why she had left them out. But it's still a very good book that tells you about how they lived and things like that. But I'm dealing more with the fighting Maroons in my book.
You said her last
Yes.
name was Joe?
Jove. It's Diouf. It's like the French spelling with the J sound. Yes.
Can you give me a list of those